Part 124. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1244. However, this state of Li Feng and Chen Yan did not last long. When the host was 16 years old, his parents and grandparents went out to play in a car accident. 4 people in one car survived. Chen Yan's parents had no siblings, and as a result, she became an orphan without relatives within a day. Li's house brought the host into the house. Because of the host's encounter, Li Feng often coaxed and hurt the fiancée when she returned home, treating her as a pet. The relationship between the two people is getting closer and closer. When the host was a freshman, Tian Xiao, a close friend of his own, went out to play and was abducted. It was Li Feng and his party who came to the rescue. Tian Xiao is behind a general and the only palm bead in that general. Those who had been abducted came prepared, and took Tian Xiao and Chen Yan to switch vehicles several times before finally entering a ship. Li Feng's companion sneaked into the ship. After more than 2 hours of incubation, Li Feng finally found Tian Xiao and Chen Yan. At the time, he could only take one of them. One is a fiancé and the other is after the general. This is not a multiple choice question, Li Feng has no choice. Because they came after the general. So Li Feng did not hesitate to choose to save Tian Xiao first. He let Chen Yan hide in a remote corner, and he said to Chen Yan, no matter what, he would go back to save her. I didn't expect it, but I missed this opportunity. This time their actions were noticed by the opponent, and the opponent's people fought back fiercely. They had to protect Tian Xiao to retreat, and the opponent's ship accelerated into the high seas. Li Feng never got the news of this fiancé. Life or death, until his death there was no news of a fiancé. This fiancé became a cinnabar mole on Li Feng's heart that could not be erased until death. He has never married and has been searching for Chen Yan's whereabouts all his life. But where can he know? After the ship docked, Chen Yan found a chance to sneak out of the ship, hid in a cargo box and entered another big ship. I thought I could return to the country, but I was imprisoned in the dark room by 2 sailors, and it was mixed with yin and yang, and starved to death. The 2 of the corpses were thrown into the deep sea, and they never returned to their hometown. After the words are fused with memory, not only the soul is in pain, but also the position of the heart is faint. This is the residual emotion of the host. Nowadays, the source of the words and soul is not powerful, and it is impossible to absolutely suppress the host's residual thoughts, so the heart is so painful. When Yanj woke up, it wasn't Li Feng sitting on the bed, but Li. The host was in Li's home for several years. Li mother loved the host as his own daughter. Most of the Li family are good to the host. At the first sight of Yanj's soberness, Li's mother rushed forward and asked if Yanj was uncomfortable and wanted to eat. Yanj's legs had already undergone surgery, and now he was hitting a plaster board. Yanj moved, and there was no feeling on his legs. She looked at Li with red eyes and whispered, "Auntie, my legs will be fine, right?" Li saw desperate and hurt her face, sorrowing and calming her heart. "It's okay, the legs are okay, rest assured, everything is okay, and the doctor said it's good to keep for a while." Yanj rolled out of the car, with a lot of abrasions on his body, and the legs crushed by the car bump were not as fine as Li's mouth said. But at this moment, Li Mushin was afraid that Yanj could not bear the bad news, so she said everything was good. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1245. Yanj heard the sigh of relief. "That's good," she remarked and smiled at Li mother again. "Auntie, I'm so lucky. I thought I would die. I didn't expect to meet Li brother alive and come back. Auntie, don't worry, I will be blessed if I die." The man who got off the car before was Li Feng. Li's eyes were hot, but she did not shed tears. "Yes, there will be blessings if our family speaks hard." As the words turned, I asked Yanj what he wanted to eat. Yan Song doesn't really want to eat. She said a few words and was tired, and closed her eyes slightly before falling asleep again. When he woke up for the second time, there were two nurses around him. She was sober this time. Even Li Father and Tianjiao came to visit her. Only Li Feng did not show up. Li said Li Feng was out of work and couldn't get in touch. There isn't much emotion in talking and hearing. Li Feng served in a special force, and once out of duty, he would lose contact with the outside world. Although the home country is in the world, in the eyes of the soldiers, the country is the first and the home is the second. The host understood that Li Feng chose to save Tianjiao at that time. Understandable is one thing, and heartache is another. This is why the heart will be so painful after the words are combined with memories. After staying in the hospital for a month, she was discharged and returned to Li's house. Although the leg is kept, even after rehabilitation, there will be sequelae. Good walking may only show a little recovery, but running and jumping is impossible. This is also based on a good foundation for recovery. If the recovery is not good, walking will be obvious. When the doctor told these words, Li looked at them with anxiety beside her. She thought that the words would cry, but she nodded expressionlessly. When I first started doing health, every step seemed to hurt like a knife pierced into the bone. Li was ready to comfort the song, but to her surprise, she never yelled from beginning to end. Painful or frustrated temper. Even with a pale face and sweat on the painful face, she clenched her teeth and never complained and cried. When Li and Li Father talked about it, they felt a little uncomfortable. If she had parents, she wouldn't be so strong. She didn't drop a tear in front of me. After all, it was because I was not her mother. For this reason, the child feels more distress the more he looks at it. Compared to her, our girl is so ignorant. Li's 3 children, the boss has died for work. In addition to Li Feng, there is a daughter 1 year younger than Li. From the hospitalization to the discharge, Li did not visit Yanj. Since the host moved into Li's house, the little sister has been fighting against the host. She didn't come to Yanj, which was expected for Yanj. After the legs were slightly walkable, Yanj proposed to return to school. It has been almost half a year since the host disappeared. Yanj will certainly not be able to keep up with previous lessons and can only be retained. It doesn't matter to her. Yanj proposed to live on campus. The previous host also lived on campus and will only return to Li's home on Saturday and Sunday. But now that she has a leg injury, Li mother wants the driver to pick up Yanj every day to return to Li's home, but she refuses. In fact, the host has always been reluctant to send people under the fence, especially Li can't get used to the host everywhere. It was just that the former host's heart was his fiancée Li Feng. Even if Li lived in the house was uncomfortable, she never thought of leaving alone. After all, she was a girl who had no courage to live alone. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1246. Although Yan Ji's mission this time is Li Feng, she also cares about the host. She did not return to Li's home on Saturday and Sunday after she offered to live in school. When Li called and asked, Yan Ji only said, "I want to go back to my home with my parents for a while." In the living room of the Chen family, the 4 most prominent pictures are the 4 photos of the grandparents of the Chen family. The host once came back to see it, but did not stay overnight. It's all in the courtyard of a military region. Li's mother walked from her house to the Chen's house, which was a building. She hung up the phone and went to the Chen's house in person. As soon as Li mentioned it, Yan Ji's eyes became red. She whispered to Li and said, "Auntie, I know you are good to me, and I am also worried that I will be afraid to be alone in this house, but I have experienced it now so much, I do auntie know what is scared anymore." I just want to spend time with my parents in my own home. I think I will die. They must be protecting me. I don't want to leave them. Li sighed, stupid boy, you want to come back, you can come back at any time, but your legs are not good right now. I live in my house at night, and I can take care of everything. You are here alone, and your uncle is uneasy. I have something to call, Yan Ji said, but refused to leave. Auntie, don't advise me any more. Li was already keenly aware that after going through this, the little girl was more stubborn and had more ideas than before. She had to start another conversation. Did you eat at night? Then you can live here, but you can't do it yourself, Rice. I'll have someone bring you the food. Yan shook his head, stepped forward and held Li's mother, put his head on Li's shoulder, and snorted softly, Auntie, I want to be independent, don't spoil me, you will spoil me. With such a word, Li mother almost cried again, you child, you are so good, everyone is willing to spoil you. Yanj smiled, Auntie, if I don't want to cook anymore, I'll call and ask Mother Lu to send me some food. Okay, you have so many things, don't worry about me. Li has retired, but was hired back, because of the song, she has been taking leave for a long time. Moving out of Li's house was more difficult, but Yan Ji's willpower was firm. Li's mother persuaded several times that she was not able to shake her resolve, so she had to let her servants in and out of this house clean up. The host was more famous in the school before. He looked good, and looked at the weak and weak. It was very popular with boys. This time the song was downgraded because of her legs, and she changed her profession. In the new class, a lot of male students are still attentive, and each time Yanj goes downstairs, he will be asked if he needs to remember it. Naturally, it is unnecessary, and the words are politely rejected, and one is alone and does not interact with the students very much. After going to school for a month, Yanj gradually adapted to this life. Going home on Saturday and Sunday, she made something for herself. At night, instead of reviewing her homework, she threw the dart in her hand and dropped it on a target on the wall. She is far away from the wall and has exceeded the normal distance. If anyone sees it, she will be surprised. After all, such a long distance cannot be hit by ordinary people. Tired of sweat, Yan Ji took a bath and climbed to bed. In the middle of the night, the sleeping song was suddenly awakened, and the dagger under the pillow was felt almost immediately. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1247. Yan Ji rolled over on the other side of the bed, stretched out his hand, and pulled the quilt. The curtains in the room were tightly pulled, and the room was dark. Wait until the few unheard footsteps appear at the door. The singer held the knife in his hands and silently crawled forward a few times. Footsteps were close. The footsteps turned over the bed, and after a brief pause, came towards her. Yanj rolled suddenly in the next moment, and the dagger in his hand also headed towards the aorta of the leg. The response was quick, and he took a step back and bent to catch the words. As soon as Yanj shot down, he went back to scratch the man's belly. Her legs were awkward and there was no advantage to standing up, so she only moved on the ground and did not intend to stand up to face the person. The man turned sideways, and the pain in the waist and the side was painful. He was not attacked in such a way, and the attack was obviously old and hot. In the dark, his eyes were murderous. Yanj turned around, and saw the man's hand grabbing at her, and the dagger cut to the man's wrist. The man's hand was a false move. He had a volley on his foot and went to speak on the shoulder. Yanj was sitting on the ground, and there was a bed that was not easy to dodge. Although she leaned back, her shoulders were still struck. Regardless of the pain in her body, she grabbed the man's foot with both hands, and stabbed the man with a dagger in his ankle. Obviously, although she was fast, she clearly underestimated the power disparity between her and the man. The dagger just struck the man's ankle. The man's legs were closed and released again, and he struck Yan's chest again. The knee pressed forward to suppress the song, holding the dagger's wrist with one hand, and holding the song with the other hand. Neck. The fight between the two people took just tens of seconds. But in just a few tens of seconds, two people passed by countless tricks. Even if the man held his neck and wrist at this moment, Yan Ji did not give up with the other hand, scratching the man's arm and face, and his legs were turned towards the man. While the man was slightly relaxed, he bit it on the back of the man's hand. "Don't move again, I'll pinch your neck," the man's somber and loud voice sounded. The next moment, he pinched Yan Ji's neck and rose, turning on the light in the room. "Where is she?" He hadn't finished the words yet, and suddenly stopped when facing the person in front of him. In fact, from the moment he made his voice, the words were choked. She thought it was the owner of the ship who sent someone to kill her. Unexpectedly, it was Li Feng. What does this man break into her room at midnight? Apparently Li Feng did not expect that he was pinching his fiancée's neck. He let go of Yan's neck with the of his hand, and saw Yan's body fall to the ground, busy and holding Yan's waist. "Do you have a chest pain? Do you have a backache?" The two asked at almost the same time, looking at each other. This man has a deep eye, and the expression of Yan Ji is extremely complicated. Still, Yan took the lead to avoid his sight, and said with a peeped eye, "A little bit of pain in my chest, not so bad. As for you, I just scratched you twice." She pushed Li Feng. "You let go of me, I look at your injury." Li Feng didn't let go of the song, and with a little effort, he lifted the person around the waist of the song, then put the person in his arms on the bed and sat down. "I'm okay." He reached out and pressed his chest as he said, "I just got a lot of strength on that foot. I'll check it in the hospital tomorrow." Yan Ji heard his voice firm and unquestionable, and he did not refute. He nodded obediently, and did not look at his face. He just said, "Go get the medicine chest, and in the drawer of the coffee table in the living room, I will bandage you. After my death, the villain blackened again." Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1248. It is good. Li Feng immediately turned around and went to the living room to find the medicine box. Although the two wounds were not very deep, they were not too shallow. Yanj saw that the blood was still flowing from his wound, and said softly to him after applying the hemostatic medicine, "You go to the hospital to bandage it up and see if you need a needle." Li Feng did not speak. When he saw Yanj no longer help him, he simply found out the contents of the medicine box, bandaged himself, then turned off the lights, and lay down on the bed according to Yanj, sleep. He didn't ask why the song was so agile and fierce. I did not ask whether the two people who died on the ship that day were killed by words. Not even asked why Yanj moved out of Li's house. Holding him down on the bed, he did not take the next step. Just holding the song like holding a big rag doll, sleeping just like he said. The breath gradually stabilized and fell asleep. This man. Maybe it's not a man, just a big boy. But the calmness he showed in words and deeds could not be linked to his age. Yan Ji was held in his arms, and this posture was not comfortable. After he fell asleep, she turned over carefully, released his restraint, and reached out and rubbed his chest where he was struck. This man is holding her chest. At that time, her nerves were tense, and she didn't feel much pain herself. This would relax, and she felt the pain was unbearable. Really, her were so small that she felt such a burst of her when she was struck like this. Two internal injuries. One hand reached out from behind and pressed on Yanj's chest, "I'm sorry." The voice was low and hoarse, lightly 3 words, but heavy like a mountain. Just listening to these heavy 3 words, I felt breathless. The words are silent. She knew that Li Feng's sorry wasn't talking about today. But I'm sorry, these 2 words, neither her nor the host can accept. Li Feng's hand rubbed Yan's chest. Without a little bit of nagging, simply rub her. Yang held down his wide palm, don't rub it. Li Feng's hand froze, he didn't retract it, only let go of his hand. Yan Ji didn't speak anymore, she knocked her pillow, found a comfortable position, and closed her eyes to sleep. Upon waking up, the sky was slightly bright, and there was no shadow of Li Feng around. Yan Ji didn't care, she took a shower in the bathroom. My hair was slightly wet and not dry. When I got to the living room, I used to throw the dart at the target on the wall. The host's grandfather was a soldier, but his father was a drug trafficking police officer. The host had no great dreams. She liked her father's clothes from an early age, so she wanted to inherit her father's business. But the word song, even after rehabilitation, the chances of running and jumping are not high. The lower body doesn't work, the words can only be made up with the upper body. This Bioguang system, in fact, is different from the previous systems. Yang can ignore the host's unwillingness and mood. But the song is still subconsciously, want a perfect. After all the darts on hand were shot, Yan Song limped over to the darts target, unplugged all those darts, moved back again, and hit the target again and again. On Saturday and Sunday, she had no other entertainment. She practiced her target every day. Several targets in the family had been changed. The kitchen door creaked open. Li Feng came out with 2 plates of small dishes. When he looked at Shang Yan's unexpected look, he didn't move, and said, "Breakfast is all right. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again." Author, Ben Gong Weipang. Chapter 1249. Yan Ji never expected that Li Feng had been nesting in the kitchen. The location of the kitchen on the balcony is a remote place in the entire room, and it is not surprising that the songs have not been noticed. She nodded. Okay. Put the dart in the side of the plate. Yanj entered the kitchen with Li Feng, and asked him, "Don't you go to the hospital if you hurt?" No. Li Feng handed a bowl of porridge to Yanj. "How is your chest?" Yanj walked outside with the porridge. "It doesn't hurt anymore." The place where the chest was pinched was not the normal position. If she used to, she would be shy when she heard the words, and she would be as shy as a rabbit. But just now, Li Feng didn't see the slightest shyness on her face. Although he was expressionless, at the moment he felt extremely uncomfortable. Li Feng boiled white rice porridge, and Yanj's kitchen only had rice. 2 side dishes, one is fried egg with green pepper, and the other is fried zucchini. Yanj has no special hobbies or requirements in eating. In fact, she always does not care about appetite. It is delicious or not. In her eyes, she just fills her stomach. However, because the table was too silent, and the other side also made a loving breakfast specially for her, Yanj praised his face, "It tastes very good." Li Feng looked up and squinted at the words and said nothing. There was a little food left over from her last night in the refrigerator. In fact, unlike rice, various dishes were cooked in the rice, and he almost did not spit it out after taking a bite. Compared to what she made, his meal was really good. The cell phone rang, and Yan Ji took it with him, while eating, watching the messages sent by those in the class group. Today, there are mountain climbing activities in the class. Therefore, all the students in the group sent a collective message. The opposite Li Feng asked her, "Do you have any plans today?" Yan Song looked up in confusion, "What?" Li Feng had finished eating, and he signaled that the song would eat first. "Where are you going today?" On Saturdays and Sundays, the words are either rehabilitated or spent at home. She didn't plan to go out today and asked him, "Are you okay?" "Li Feng, where are you going?" "I will send you there." Yan shook his head, "There are no plans to go out today." Li Feng froze. He actually knew that her class had a mountaineering activity today. Yan Ji simply asked, "Are you not busy at work? How come there is a sense of leisure and ease running here?" Li Feng, he felt that he heard a hint of disgust from her mouth. He dropped his head, covered his eyes, and chopped her food with chopsticks. "Don't just drink porridge." "Okay, thank you." Li Feng's hand shook, but he controlled his emotions without any trace. The two dead were dead. He personally inspected the body without any traces of the killer. Even when the murderous dagger was finally found in the trash can, there was no murderer's fingerprint on the dagger. But all pointing was towards her. Is she? His tenderness. Since she was young, she couldn't even kill a fish, how could she kill someone? He didn't believe that she did it, but experienced what happened last night and the target he had seen this morning. Even if he didn't believe it, he knew that the two had been killed by her. What did she experience during that time? Even if he was eager to know, he understood that he could not ask. "I'm on vacation for a month." Li Feng looked at the words that seemed to be well-being, drinking porridge and eating food. "Since it's okay today, I'll take you to play. Where do you want to go?" "After my death, the villain Blackened again." Author, Ben Gong Weipang. Chapter 1250. Yan Ji looked up at him in surprise, and immediately reacted. Li Feng's holiday this month may not be for her purpose. She shook her head. "I don't have a place to go." "You don't have to worry about me. I'm fine now. If you have something to do, don't waste it on me." She whispered softly, listening as if it were the same as before. However, in his ears, he felt sour. Yan Ji cleaned up the tableware and wanted to finish it, but Li Feng took her step by step. "As long as I'm at home, I do these things," he said. But this one is not his own. He sang a smile, didn't argue, and didn't respond. Li Feng brushed the bowl and dragged the kitchen clean. When he saw Yanj doing rehabilitation exercises in the living room, he stood silently and stared at her intently. Even when he was standing, his back was as straight as a pine. Even if he looked at Yan Ji's gentle eyes, the kind of imposing manner on his body seemed to be a tiger and a wolf squinting in the sun, seemingly lax, but they would explode anytime and anywhere. After Yanj finished his exercise, he asked him, "Is there anything else? Is this going to drive him away?" Li Feng pretended not to understand the implication of her words, and only asked her, "I heard that you changed your major." "Well," Yanj said, "it's changed." It didn't say why and what to change. Obviously do not want to talk too much with him. Li Feng stepped forward and grabbed her hand, his low voice was even a little serious, "Go out and walk." Yanj didn't break free, didn't ask, nodded, his face didn't matter. "Okay. Li Feng's car is downstairs." He personally helped Yanj fasten his seat belt, so he took Yanj out of the community. Yan Ji turned his head and looked out the window. Li Feng narrowed her eyes several times before finally saying, "Yes, I'll take you to see a psychiatrist." He always said one-to-one in front of her, and he had never solicited her opinions like now. "Do you think I need to go?" Yan Ji asked him, looking back at him, smiling. "Brother Li thinks I need to go, then I will go." She smiled softly and seemed very well behaved. But at this moment, to her watery black and white eyes, Li Feng's throat was stuck, and he could not say a word. He squeezed his hands on the steering wheel. I knew from the bottom of her heart that she was in a wrong state, but she didn't dare to pierce her. "I'm just talking," Li Feng said. "Every time we complete our task, we will talk to the psychiatrist. If you want to go, I will arrange it." "I listen to Brother Li." "That's it." Li Feng looked at the road ahead. "Does your chest still hurt? Otherwise, go to the hospital to check first." "It doesn't hurt at all." Yan Ji shook his head quickly. "No need to go to the hospital, Brother Li. How about your wound?" "The wound is not deep, only a bit of flesh is broken." He smiled, and said inadvertently, I didn't expect the words to move so well. Yan Ji tilted his head and smiled at him, smiling with joy and sorrow without sorrow and joy. I have practiced. When I was on the boat, I was practicing every moment. She took the initiative to mention the things on the boat. Li Feng's heart raised, she could not wait for her to finish her speech. But she said such a word, but did not continue. Her cell phone rang again, and she seemed to have forgotten the topic she was talking about, just lowered her head and played with the cell phone. Li Feng pursed his lips, staring at the front without blinking. There was a faint transparent liquid rolling around his eyes, but it disappeared immediately. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 1251. Li Feng drove directly to Fenghuang Mountain outside the city. Today, the students in the chanting class agreed to climb Phoenix Mountain and then hold an event at the summit meeting. Parked the car in the parking lot, Li Feng got out of the car, took the hiking backpack from the trunk and carried it on his back. Yan Ji looked around in surprise, how come here? Li Feng, take you to climb the mountain. Oh, Yanj asked him, is there a trekking pole? Li Feng has already bought it. In the trunk, Wen Yan took it out and handed it to Yan Ji. Yan Ji looked at his bulging mountaineering bag and smiled, you have a very complete set of things, is there a plan? Okay. Yan Ji knew that this man didn't talk much, so he didn't keep asking. She walked slowly with her trekking poles, and Li Feng followed her silently. In order to cooperate with her, he paced very slowly. Reaching the bottom of the mountain, Yan Ji's legs started to hurt. She didn't shout. She just took a seat and took a break. She patted Li Feng and said, Brother Li, also sit down and rest. Li Feng then put the backpack in the empty seat, but he still stood. There is water in the bag, there are fruits, and there are snacks. Tell me what I want to eat, I'll get it for you. Yanj was surprised, it's really complete. But that's all there is to it. Once the two were together, Li Feng didn't like to talk, and the host always talked about the big things in the school. But nowadays, Yanj doesn't like talking, so after the two people basically say one sentence, they are embarrassed and silent. Fortunately, they are thick-skinned and don't think there is anything wrong with this silence. Seeing that Song of Song was enough to rest, Li Feng was busy holding her. Wait. He found a folding stand from the outside of the mountaineering bag. When the bracket is opened, it becomes an L-shaped iron shelf, with the canvas in the center of the lower iron frame, and straps on the upper sides. Li Feng fixed the iron frame on his back, and then squatted beside Yanj, come up. It is to say the song sit on the stand. Yanj is really flattered, I can go by myself. Li Feng's voice was beyond doubt, come up. Yan Song pursed his lips. Eventually sat up. Although the shelf looks thin, but there is canvas underneath, so it's not embarrassing at all. After Yanj sat down, Li Feng stood up and said, fasten the seat belt. There are indeed safety belts on the central sides of the iron shelf. This iron shelf is really deliberate. Brother Li, give me the mountaineering bag. Although he was carrying the weight, it was easier for her to hold the mountaineering bag than for him to hold it in front. Li Feng raised his hand and handed the umbrella to Yanj, the umbrella can be fixed on your side. Just after Yanj took it, he also handed the water glass to Yanj, you can put a water glass in the small pocket on the side, you can put it in when you are not drinking. Yanj put the cup in the side bag, Li Feng poked her arm again, and handed her a bag of tomato-flavored potatoes. The host's favorite snack. Yanj took the bag and had to say that this man is really caring. She thought it was over, and Li Feng did not give her an orange-flavored lollipop. Words of song. Yan Ji cares for him rarely, if you are tired, say it. Li Feng said, you are much lighter than before. The previous host was a little fat, but when I went out to sea, I was almost skinny when I came back. I was in the hospital a bit fatter because of drugs, but after I was discharged, I lost weight. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 1252. Although her body is not as fat as before, it is not so easy for Li Feng to climb a mountain with her back. Yanj said, it is also very heavy. You will be tired for a while. Remember to rest. You still have wounds on your feet. That's not hurt, Li Feng said in silence, and said, in the past, when I was training, I carried a mountain of 50 kilograms to climb the mountain, and my feet were rotten. It's really hard. Being a soldier is really hard. Not only the words, but even the host can understand the soldier's hard work. Li Feng listened to her soft sigh, her lips moved, and what she wanted to say changed to something else. Words, what do you want to do in the future? When he saw her so persistently practicing darts, he actually guessed her thoughts. But unexpectedly, Yanj said, I changed my major and I want to do information technology. She wanted to be a soldier, but confronted Li Feng last night, but she suddenly realized that even if she had the willpower to have her so-called talent, her leg was really not working. She could not succeed her host's father as a police officer, and could not even enter the army to keep pace with Li Feng. Therefore, she can only step back and become an information soldier. Li Feng's throat rolled, but he didn't speak again. When she was young, she admired her father very much. She always wanted to be a policeman who served the people. For this dream, she even started to learn some basics of martial arts. Is she sad at the moment when she says this? Is it painful? But what can he do for her? Although Feng Guangshan is not high, it is not an ordinary hill pack. Li Feng crawled all the way behind his words and rested only once. The little lovers I met on the way, the woman's verbal envy was jealous. The men regarded Li Feng as an industry scum, one by one glaring at Li Feng. Yan Ji and Li Feng successfully brushed a wave of presents. Of course, Li Feng concentrates on his words, and has no time to ignore the people around him. Only the words are idle, and they sit high up, so everyone's expressions are in their eyes. She said to Li Feng with amusement, many people are envious of me. But for Yanj, he would rather have a pair of legs that he can climb, rather than being climbed on his back. Speak, Li Feng, who has always been quiet, said in a gasping, determined voice, I will carry you all my life. Yan Song did not respond, she bit the potato and clicked. Li Feng's life was a country before his home. Indeed, as he said, as long as he does not need work, he can accompany her for a lifetime. Of course, he would abandon her whenever she needed work. It is difficult to be a military officer. The host knows from his mother how difficult it is to be a policewoman. Going to the hospital alone when you are pregnant is also a person who has a baby. The host is precocious, but she doesn't care. The host used to think that she liked Li Feng, and she could be a woman behind a soldier like her mother. But Li Feng chose to take Tianjiao to leave that moment. The host has already given up this obsession. She doesn't blame Li Feng. The military order is like a mountain. Soldiers cannot have selfishness, even if they have, they must converge. She fully understood Li Feng. She even felt that Li Feng was no less painful than her. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 1253. The host not only did not blame Li Feng, but also felt a little distress to him. However, after all, it is difficult to resolve. The host has died once. In her opinion, everything between her and Li Feng has come to an end with her death. She doesn't want to have anything to do with Li Feng anymore. With the first life, the host only wanted to pursue those things she did not have the courage to pursue, instead of focusing on Li Feng. At the moment, she felt the empathy of the host. Therefore, Li Feng's words are not in his heart. She felt that Li Feng was a smart person. He expressed his position in this way today, and most people would probably be touched by him. Unable to respond, Li Feng dropped his eyes, covering the sour emotions in his eyes. But he didn't speak again. Near the top of the mountain, Yan Ji also met her classmates on a rest chair by the road. Yan Ji used to be alone in this time. He only knew that the other party was in the same class as himself, but he didn't know his name. To the other side's surprised eyes, Yan Ji can only ignore it. Li Feng climbed the mountain quickly. Even carrying her and carrying an extremely large mountaineering bag, his pace was particularly fast. So after seeing one or two classmates I met, I saw more on the next mountain trail. Chen Yan, Xiaotong's fellow Xiaotong looked up and saw Yan Ji with surprise and eyes widened. You are too comfortable. The girls immediately coaxed and asked to introduce the male ticket. Today's climbing, many students brought their targets. At this moment, Yanj and Li Feng were excited, and the girls were blaming their own male votes. Of course, the single dogs can only watch in silence, and by the way gossip, the male ticket for Yanj looks really good. Li Feng's facial features are not generally good, and he has the momentum, which these students can't match for decades. Since Yanj sat on Li Feng's back, this way came in the eyes of everyone's envy and jealousy. His cheeks have been practiced, so naturally he will not care about everyone's fun. She doesn't like to talk, and doesn't care about the eyes of these so-called classmates, she just smiles at a few people she knows as a response. At the top of the mountain, many students are already setting up tents. Li Feng put down the song, and his back chair didn't know how it was folded, but after a few clicks, it turned into a small chair with a back, and then let the song sit. As he went to unpack the tent in his backpack, he said to Yanj, "Sit down and rest for a while. When my tent is set up, let's get something to eat." Yan Ji nodded, "What can I do for you?" Li Feng handed her a bag of rice dumplings again. "Sit down and watch the scenery. There are classmates passing by next to it, and they will curiously look at Yanj and Li Feng." But both were in a state of no one else. Yanj was eating kuaba, staring at Li Feng in the tent. No wonder the backpack is so big that it was originally a tent sleeping bag. Soon Li Feng set up the tent. He set up the tent, took out a small electric pot from his bag, and put the prepared lunch in the pot and fry it. The fragrance is overflowing. Li Fengshen gave a bowl to the song. He was holding the rest of the meal himself, sitting on the stone beside Yanj. "Eat, there is hot porridge in the insulation pot." Yan Song, "I can't eat so much." Li Feng, "Too thin, eat more." He felt awkward when he said Yanj and paused, and said, "I can't finish the rest."